Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I was
Praise you to Allah.
making sure I did get this right. Yay.
Is this your first time going live on Instagram?
It is. It is. I don't think I
Really?
live before, unless I was like experimenting or something.
Well, I am honored to
Praise
speak to you and this being your first live. So all praise. Yay! I'm excited. I actually have a lot of questions, and for you all who are just joining, in the name of Allah, the most merciful, everyone said there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. And I'd like to greet you all in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sister Anur, and this wonderful sister here is Sister Maryam. She is a speaker, a mother, an author, a healer. She has a lot of titles, but if you don't mind, can you briefly introduce yourself? You know who you are, what you do.
I mean, you pretty much covered it. I'm not one to like to talk a lot about myself. So, hey, what you said is perfect.
Praise be to Allah. Well, yes, ma'am. Well, you all are really in for a treat. I am really excited for what we have in store. So, yeah. Basically, this conversation is going to be about women in Islam, specifically historical women. I actually had a few questions about, the women around Prophet Muhammad. And then I also had some questions, of course, pertaining to your grandmother, who is Mother Burnsteen Muhammad, as well as other women in the Nation of Islam that many people don't really know too much about, that I really don't know about. And so I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I'm looking forward to what Allah puts on your heart to share with us. So, for starters, there is a lot of people who think that women in Islam are oppressed. Unfortunately, when I was growing up, you hear about women being Muslims and whatnot. Even though I did grow up in the Nation of Islam, kind of. My father was in the nation, my mom was not, so I had the best of both worlds. Okay. But you hear a lot about women being oppressed. And so my question for you is, why do you think that people think that women in Islam are oppressed today? And how does this belief alone taint the majesty of Allah in Islam?
I think the idea of women being oppressed in Islam comes from other sectors of Islam, not the nation of Islam, because of course we're taught a nation can rise no higher than its woman. We're taught to reverence the womb that bore us. So there's so much upliftment in the teaching of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad for us as women in the Nation of Islam. So I don't believe that stereotype came from our side, but unfortunately our sisters that are in other sectors of Islam do go through oppression. They do go through mistreatment. In some countries, some Islamic countries, the women can't even touch the Holy Quran, so their interpretation is directly from a man.
Wow.
Some women have to wear muzzles like mules on their mouths, and there's a lot of mistreatment out there that in other sectors can lead to feeling oppressed in Islam. But that's a culture. That's not the religion, because the religion itself is very uplifting. I love, like, it makes you as a woman feel so special, so precious, so valued when you learn your place, your role, your purpose in Islam, and how Allah did not come for one gender, but he came for us all. So we definitely are not oppressed. We need to get rid of that word, as when it's connected to Islam. There's no oppression at all. And what was the second part of your question?
I said, how does this belief alone taint the majesty of Allah in true Islam?
I believe that it masks his true majesty, how he really feels. There's a covering, and a filthy covering that you place on Islam or even on Allah with just the thought that the woman that he created, the one that he created as his self-creator, the one that he created as a comfort for him when he felt alone. So to understand our history and why Allah created the woman, and to know that no human being can come on this planet without coming through the womb of a woman. Allah designed that. He created that. So why would we say that something that he created to be a gift to this world, he then would punish us and oppress us and abuse us? No, no, we're gifts to this world. So by speaking of women in Islam in that way, you do Allah a disservice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it makes me think of, how we're taught in the Nation of Islam that the woman is the second self of God.
Come on.
And we possess, well, the more I study myself, the more I study my nature, the more I see how true that statement is, because of, those attributes of Allah that I possess, those feminine attributes, like being soft. Even though it took a minute to get here, I'm still working on it. But, being calm and gentle. And,
we all are.
Yes, ma'am. Merciful. And it's just very beautiful. And it really makes me a little sad that is a lot of women's view towards being a Muslim woman. And honestly, if I'm not lying, before I joined the Nation of Islam, that's kind of what I thought it was like to be a Muslim woman. And now that I know that that's the furthest thing from the truth, it's just absolutely beautiful. And I thank Allah for the nation, and I thank Allah for the teachings. For introducing me to God, like Allah God.
That's
so all praises to Allah. Thank you so much for your response. Thank you for your answer. That was beautiful, and it was needed. And I hope someone was able to gain some clarity from that response.
Praise be to Allah.
So praise to Allah. So my next question is, a lot of people are not aware of this, but Mary, the mother of Jesus, is in the Holy Quran on numerous occasions. She's brought up a lot.
Yes.
And so I'm still learning, the Holy Quran and the chapter and what everything means. But from your perspective, what can we learn and better understand about Islam from the example of Mary, the mother of Jesus?
Obedience. Absolutely obedience. When you look at the story of Mary, or Maryam, not me, the mother of Jesus, when you look at that, you're looking at the story, the character of a woman who completely submitted herself to the obedience of Allah, to his will, to his desires, to meaning what he desired of her, to rely solely on him. Because even in the moment that Joseph would come to feed her, Allah had already fed her. She made Allah sufficient. If we're trying to figure out, how do I make Allah sufficient? Because we hear that a lot. Make Allah sufficient in your trials, in your tribulations, in your things that you're going through in your life. Sister, make Allah sufficient. And for us just trying to figure out, well, how do I do that? The example of that is Mary. Mary made Allah sufficient. She put Allah in front of her in the decisions that she made. She sought out what would be pleasing to him first. And when he delivered the instruction, she obeyed. So I really feel, in my humble opinion, that Mary, the mother of Jesus, is a perfect representation of obedience. Obedience
Wow.
to God and nobody else. And that's a sacrifice. That's a struggle. That's not easy, especially today. In today's world with Satan's pull, that's not easy, but it's attainable. We can absolutely be like Mary. It's not impossible. It just may hurt through the process, but you can't grow without pain. So it's okay. It's ordained. Pain's purpose is to stimulate growth. So go ahead and welcome it into your life. We must have it, but it has to be the proper pain, the God-sent type of pain, not the pain the enemy of this world places on us. So I think Mary, her story is one as women. I don't care what religious background you belong to, but as a woman, period, we all should study the story of Mary and how to become her level of obedience. Did that answer your question?
Praise be to Allah. Yes, ma'am, it did. Praise be to Allah. And she should certainly be studied.
Yes.
If you don't mind, where exactly in the Bible can I study Mary? Maryam? Because I personally have not read the entire Bible before. So it would be nice to have a nice point to start at.
You know, I'm not well versed in the Bible to say, oh, go to verse I mean, I would in that case go to the index or the to find where do I study Mary. To Jesus, but I personally feel like Mary is all throughout the Bible. And the reason why I say that, she may not be mentioned all throughout the Bible, but because of what came forth from her womb, I feel like the symbolism of her is throughout the Bible. When you look at the various prophets, when you're looking in the book of Genesis, when you go just to the beginning, because it's a reminder, what she produced from her womb is a reminder of the reproduction that we're supposed to now bring forth. We're supposed to be bringing gods from our wombs. We are taught, ye are all gods. So I'm giving birth to a God. So I feel her symbolism is all throughout the body. I mean, throughout the Bible. The body too, but the Bible.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. So Mary was a Muslim.
Absolutely. And even if you Google women in history, women in Islamic history, Mary pops up. She's one of them. Absolutely. Why not? Jesus, did he not submit his entire will to do the will of Allah? He was a Muslim. He came from the womb of a Muslim. A woman, perfect obedience to God, that's a Muslim. So quite naturally, yes, her name should come up at the top of the list. Because Mary, mother of Jesus, yes, she was a Muslim.
Praise be to Allah. Obedience. She was obedient.
Obedience. Obedience.
Obedience is better than sacrifice.
Come on.
And that makes me think of Ramadan.
Yes. Greater than sacrifice.
Yes.
Oh.
Praise be to Allah.
Yeah.
And that actually leads me to my next question. I don't know if I'm probably not going to say this word right, but I remember you mentioning, I believe we had a conversation about this not too long ago, that you knew or familiar with some of the women that were around Prophet Muhammad. So can you share a few, I believe when I was doing research, it was called Sahabiyat. Am I saying that right? They were the female companions of Prophet Muhammad.
And you said it was
Sahabiyat. That's Sahabiyat. I probably am butchering.
Probably so. And the best person to ask that question would be Imam Sultan.
You are absolutely right. I definitely need to have him ask him. But
Yes.
are you familiar with any of the women, and can you share what you can learn from them? Because I personally don't know any other than I don't really know too much. Yeah. Like some of the most common names, because I know a lot of believers have similar names, and that's like about it. But I don't really know much. So if you don't mind, can you touch on?
I'm trying to remember. I know we have Khadija, Aisha, Fatima was a daughter, right? Zainab, or was Zainab a daughter? I confuse the names too.
Was Sumaya or Sumaya?
Now, we'll talk about Sumaya in just a second.
Okay.
Because she was not the wife of the prophet. She was one of the first 7 followers of his. When, after the revelation of the Holy Quran, when he began to gain followers. And she was the first martyr in Islam. So the first martyr in Islam was not a man, it was a woman who died in the cause of Islam. Now, Khadija, everyone, of course, knows Khadija, the wife of the prophet, but I don't think everybody really knows her story. Because she was one that her father, she inherited her father's wealth, and Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was one of her workers. And in the story, as it is told, she proposed to him. And I thought that was interesting. I thought that was quite interesting. I was like, wow. And going into understanding, now here it is. You have a woman who financially is stable. She's running the business, okay? She's inherited and running the family business. So she's not looking for money. How many of us today are looking for men, and that's the first thing on your mind? You want to know, how much money does he make? You do, and it's nothing wrong with wanting to be maintained, and that's fine. But sometimes that thought, that idea gets corrupted, and we look into that as, is he a millionaire? Is he the, come on. So to look at her, I felt like when I read that, and when Imam Sultan was explaining that to me, I felt that that was such an important portion of who she was, to just show her character and what she possibly saw in the prophet before he became one. To see the quality of this man, that you fell in love with the true character of Prophet Muhammad before he became a prophet. He was one of your workers, you know what I'm saying? So I just really thought that was very beautiful, and it just spoke volumes. And Aisha was another wife, but she was a younger wife. She was younger. Khadija was older when she married the prophet. Aisha was younger. Everyone, according to some of the stories, knew that Khadija was the prophet's favorite. So it was like you had to level up to Khadija. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, think about that today. We could do some comparison. But, just to know the quality, the love, the purity that was present in that entire courtship, marriage, that entire process. As women, we definitely can learn from it. And when we're seeking that male, that individual, that companionship, what is it that I should be looking for that matches what's inside of me? And in studying the wives of the prophet, you can see the different qualities of them that complemented the essence that Allah put in him. Everyone had a role. Everyone had different responsibilities. And what they don't say is the majority of the hadith is written based off of the memory of the women. So that's here's another point of uplifting women in Islam. We're not oppressed. History is us. You can't have Islam without the woman. It's not possible. You can't do it. The majority, a lot of intricate details in the history of Islam on this planet involves women or a woman. So when you look at it that way, it's like, it makes me sit up a little bit. It makes me lift my head, makes me proud to even wear my drape scarf or my headpiece, my covering. And to understand that regardless of the religious background you belong to, when you look at Mary, when you look at the women around Jesus, they were dressed like we dress. Only the enemy of this world separated us. So I don't want to go too deep into the characters of or the experiences or traits of the women around the prophet, because I really want to encourage us to go study it and receive your own revelation from it. Connect to it however Allah desires for you to connect to it, because something inside of you will be uplifted when you start studying the women around the prophet. And where even in the Holy Quran, where we start talking about the pleading woman, well, where did that come from? How did we become a pleading woman? I had that conversation with Imam Sultan, and he was explaining that the women were, during that time, the women were being mistreated by the men. And the revelations that the prophet was receiving really at that moment didn't deal with the woman. So women started standing up. We want some revelation about us, right? I want to find myself in this. And the prophet will respond, Allah has not sent me one yet. So even as it relates to the mistreatment of the women, they sat outside of the prophet's house, like almost like a guess you could say like a picket or so, just you sitting in front of his home. You got all of these women, and like, I'm not moving until you get a revelation. But this is my plead, because I know Allah loves me too. So we've been having movements for thousands of years, wanting to feel valued, wanting to feel protected from the mistreatment. This is not a new thing. You now have women saying, I've been mistreated. I'm tired of being mistreated. I'm tired of this. I'm tired. We've been tired for a very long time. Wow. And now we're learning that that's soon to come to an end. And I saw you pop up, and I'm going to stop because I know a question came to you.
No question.
Oh, okay.
It's everything is just marinating. It's just sitting there.
So yes, I mean, I love showing how, regardless of your religious background, we are all one. We're all from the same creator. We are all women who have trials and tribulations. We are all women who have raised children by yourself. Being a Muslim does not exempt you from that process. So we are not better. We have a teaching that can pull you to your originator. We have a teaching that will free you but we never profess to be arrogant. We're just convicted in that which Allah came to give to us, because we know that teaching is the best for you and I. But it does not mean I'm better. It means that as a unit, we are best together. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we're all Muslims. It's our nature. It's our nature to submit to Allah. And I have to keep reiterating, as women in Islam, we are not oppressed. I am not a slave. Mm-hmm. I don't walk 5 paces behind my husband. we don't do any of that. That's not what Allah has created the woman. No, not at all.
Nope. Mm-mm. Man, we're just so magnificent. I'm still wrapping my mind around you saying, or reiterating, essentially, how women have been struggling, you know, was trying to, you know, speak up for themselves for thousands of years, literally. And it just makes me think of when the minister says, he said this on numerous occasions, that the world is the way that it is because of its mistreatment and misunderstanding of the woman. And I just never thought how this could possibly be an issue 4,000 or 5,000 years ago as it is today. Yeah. And I think that kind of what's been, I've just been sitting here thinking like, dang, it's the same struggle. Wow. It's a struggle. I mean, just think about it, you know, and even when you think of the enemy of this world, who, even in medicine, I don't care what color, white or black, when it comes to medicine, the woman is sacrificed. The woman is mislabeled. They don't put a lot of money and time and effort in finding out how our reproductive system works. They're not concerned about our reproductive system. When you go to medical school and you open up a medical book, you see pictures and images. There's more images of white males than anybody else. So talk about a God that has come for the upliftment, to restore, to reform a people. You can put that God with anyone who is suffering on this planet, and you can become reformed, resurrected. You can receive a healing that we all need. It's just that us as Black people, we were at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the barrel, okay? And we are special. We are absolutely special. We are deserving of deliverance. And that's what's happening today for both male and female. Because the more we talk about the woman, the more this enemy starts to lower the man and separate male and female. I was on a show, a radio show, and they brought me on the show because men had a problem with the statement, when you teach a man, you teach an individual. When you teach a woman, you teach a nation. Why would you have a problem with that? But it's because of the way this world is separating male and female now, that now I don't feel like it's natural for me to gravitate towards the opposite gender, because I've been hurt so much based off of the plan of this enemy because of slavery. Look at what we've gone through, that we've been hurt so much. In that pain, you turn us against each other. So now I'm turned against my nature, which is the survival of my species. Now you want me to turn to my own, because I know how a woman should be comforted. Or I know how a man should be pleasured. That's foolishness. But it's playing on our pain. Islam comes and breaks all of that up.
It busts it all up because it's the truth. The truth will set you free. We've heard that statement for years, but we haven't understood the process for years. And what we're learning now is that understanding. Who is the God on the scene today and why? That frees me as a woman in Islam. It uplifts me as a woman in Islam. Even studying the women around the prophet, studying the women during that day and time to understand they suffered too. That lets me know what I'm going through, it's not new. But I have to earn everything that's coming in my path. My blessings, my place, my destiny, my purpose. You got to earn that. We got to stop walking thinking we're entitled to something because of a name, because of a bloodline, because of a relationship. I'm entitled. You're not entitled. You got to earn that spot. I'm not here trying to rob somebody else's life. I'm here trying to get my own. You know what I'm saying? So Allah is God. It's only one God. It's only one supreme being. That is it. That's all we need. We don't need multiple. Nope. For what? We don't need multiple. We got exactly what we need.
We don't even act towards the one.
Right.
That we need to be.
Exactly.
We act right with the one we got.
Exactly.
Man, there's so much. Thank you so much for everything you just shared. I'm definitely going to have to go back and just listen to this.
Praise.
So that I can retain the information. But I pray that, you all that are listening, you're able to retain something of value. Because I definitely have been receiving jewels. So all praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. I thank Allah for the teachings. I really do.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
I don't have the
absolutely
time. I do have the time to just talk about it, but not now, not today. Not so,
praise be to it.
Leading into my next question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, this is going to be, related to the history of the nation of Islam. So, for someone who may not know, who has no idea, who is Mother Burnsteen Muhammad? What did she do, and why exactly is she important specifically to the Nation of Islam, or in regards to the Nation of Islam?
So she was the secretary to Master Father Muhammad. He entitled her the Reformer. She also had different roles in the nation, different positions. MGT captain. She worked in the processing department, as we know it. When you write your letter and send your letter in. And the funny thing is, that story I actually learned through a sister at the time who was called Sister Adrian. Today, her name is Sister Aaliyah, who, when I wrote my letter, she told me, I'm sitting in the seat that your grandmother originated. She said this seat originated with your grandmother.
Wow.
And I called and asked my grandmother because I didn't know. I didn't know that. So I had to call and ask her. And that's when a little bit at a time, she gave me information about it. And she told me, yes, absolutely. And I was like, wow, I was amazed. I was really amazed as I was coming into the Nation of Islam, because I was born in Islam, but not the Nation of Islam. So as I was coming into the Nation of Islam and learning who she was, there were bits and pieces I knew as a child, things that I heard, things that she said herself. However, I learned more when I came in. And it started when I first came in. So even to learn that my Aunt Donna said that in 1998, I drilled the MGT for Savior's Day, our drill competition. 97, we were practicing and stuff, of course, in 97, getting ready for Savior's Day 98. And my Aunt Donna said to me, do you know why the sisters drill? I'm like, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. And she said, your grandmother saw her brothers drilling, and she went to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and asked him if the sisters could drill.
Wow.
And he granted it. And at that moment, from that moment on, we've been drilling. So I didn't know doing things and not knowing that I was following either her footsteps or in the direction of things that she was either the first to do, she initiated the process, or a desire she had in her that she wanted to see come into fruition. And the reason why I say it that way, that she wanted to see come into fruition, is because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said to me, he said, I pray that the MGT become what Sister Bernsteen envisioned them to be. I was so blown away by the statement, I didn't ask, well, what is that vision? You know what I'm saying? Like, things that you think of later that you're like, man, I should have asked. I was just like, praise be to Allah. And I mean, because that was my heart. My response was a reflection of how my heart felt, which was just all praises due to Allah. Even not knowing what that vision was, just knowing that that was his prayer. I wasn't even wrapped around what the vision was. I was just like, praise be to Allah, because I looked at that as her light. Whatever Allah put in her, that's not Maryam. What his prayer was it a reflection? Well, I can't say that. I can't say it wasn't a reflection because I don't know. But what I will say is what the prayer was represented what Allah put in her. And even in knowing things about her and how beautiful of a soldier she was. I don't think there's any woman that has assumed the position of any place. I don't care, Nation of Islam, Christianity, government, I don't care where it is. I don't think there's any woman that sat in a seat that is important and has not gone through pain, that has not gone through suffering. There is no woman that plays a role of importance that does not go through that. That story must be told. Because you have to take a moment and ask yourself, why did Allah choose her? What is it about her life that me as a woman struggling in Islam, having sacrifice, right? Making sacrifices, trying to get this thing right. If Allah chose her and gave her the title, the Reformer, there's something in her that I need to know. There's guaranteed something in her life that I can connect with that's gonna help me. That's for every woman. I remember Grandmama saying that she always wanted to teach Christian women, and not in a way to convert them to Islam, but in a way to give them freedom without making them feel like, oh, here come the Muslims, or you know what I'm saying? To come with so much love and embrace. The same way the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, when he goes to the church, he don't try to convert you and bring you to the mosque. He's bringing you the truth. He's bringing you God's word that will uplift you, resurrect you, start the reforming process regardless of where you are. That's how I view my grandmother. I feel that everything that she went through in life is for women to benefit off of. Why do I say that? Because Allah is the author of life. He is the author of what we go through in life, our experiences, our trials and tribulations. So because he's the author of it, I cannot state whether or not it should be told. Only Allah can. Because your experiences, you know how the Honorable Mrs. Farrakhan says he had to die in order for Allah to live in him? When I look at my grandmother, that's how I look at that. That in order for Allah to live in her, in order for him to place whatever he placed in her, he didn't place it in her for only her to benefit from. He placed it in her for women to benefit from it, period. So her stories have to be told, regardless to how people may feel. You might be a little embarrassed. I've heard the family members of the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan say, man, Dad, did you have to tell that story? Man, Grandpa, did you have to tell that story? His life is an open book because he understands that his life is for the people. It's not for him. That's Sister Bernsteen. Her life is for the people, not just for a bloodline. And the bloodline can't benefit if they don't walk the footsteps of the life. You gotta walk those footsteps. In order to activate DNA, you want that DNA to match that spirit? Wow. Then activate it with that which Allah wills. That's our destiny. Because whether you're connected to Sister Bernsteen through a bloodline, the best connection is the spiritual line. So you know how the Honorable Mrs. Farrakhan says the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is his spiritual father? Well, Sister Bernsteen is your spiritual grandmother. If that's the path that you desire to walk in, then walk it. Because Allah chose her. And not saying that to say he didn't choose you. No, he did choose you. He gave you an example that you can connect with so you can see he chose you. Meaning his women. He loves us. He values us. He heals us if we allow him to. So learning her stories, learning her footsteps is so critical. Because even when I look at the story of Hagar, who actually, her name is Hajar, because she was an Egyptian woman. Well, that's where we get Hajj from. This is your proclamation of faith that you got to walk in the footsteps of a woman. Hajar represents faith. Those are her footsteps that you walk in. Why shouldn't I feel elevated as a woman in Islam that you can't even proclaim your faith unless you walk in the footsteps and go over on the journey that is named after a woman? Come on. So any woman that we talk about in Islam, that you talk about in the Bible, it should uplift you as a woman because it shows you your divinity. It really shows you who you are. And even in thinking about my grandmother, she was strong. She was a strong woman. I told my father, I was like, man, Daddy, you know, when I was little, I used to think grandmama was mean. I mean, think about it. Just think about it. You got a soldier for a grandmother. And then, I mean, a child who wants to be disciplined. And I was a rebel. I was real rebellious child. So quite naturally, I'm like, man, grandmama mean. Grandmama wasn't mean. Now that I'm older, I'm thinking about it like, first of all, grandmama raised her 14 children. A lot of us as grandchildren, I saw great-grandchildren in the house. I'm like, when did grandmama get a break? Like, I just, from a mother standpoint, now I'm relating with her side, and I only got 5. But I'm like, she had 14 plus grandchildren, plus great-grandchildren. I think I would have had an attitude. And that's not to say she had one, but me, like I said, I got 5. This woman had more than that, okay? And it's like, you know, to look at her in that light, like, man, she deserved to have a break. She deserved to have a breather. But I always saw grandmama, even after her stroke, she still was mentally working. She still was thinking about the women of God. She didn't let go. She did not let that go, even feeding off of her essence. The same thing I was saying when Minister Ava transitioned. She's still with us. The essence of your soul is just the atoms and molecules of the universe. Pull on her. Pull on that essence. I feel the same way about grandmama. Pull on that essence. And Minister Ava said to me one day, she was like, you're the closest I've gotten to your grandmother.
Wow.
And I had tears in my eyes because I told her, you're the closest to her for me. And you've never met. But the way that she served the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, her love for me was the way Sister Bernsteen served Allah in the person of Master Farad Muhammad and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I saw that dedication. I saw the commitment. I felt the love. And that's why I took so much to Minister Ava. It was real personal for me. I was just like, and Minister Ava gifted me. We were on tour, her tour where, oh, it's a shame. I can't remember the tour, but it was the tour that she did for women. It was named after one of her books. But what during this tour, she gifted me a journal. And I told her, we went to dinner later on, and I told her, I said, see, this is why you remind me of my grandmother. Because my grandmother said to me when I was a child, I think I was a teenager, she said, write your story. You need to journal because someone is going to have to read your life. You are making history. Wow. And not, when she said those words to me, she wasn't just talking about me. She's talking about us, period. When you are living your life, write your story down. Because somebody coming up after you need to know your story. They will benefit from your experiences. So when Minister Ava gave me that journal, that was a reminder of the words that my grandmother said to me.
Wow.
So I'm like, you know, it's so much wrapped up in Sister Bernsteen that has to be unwrapped and shared. And it's a whole lot that I do not know. I'm still learning myself. But I truly believe that I'm learning through connecting to her essence because I can feel her. I'm not trying to be her light. I'm not trying to live her legacy. I've been told things as far as where I'm placed in that. And I'm trying to live my own legacy, my own purpose, my own destiny, as all of us are. Because as Imam Sultan said to me one day, he said the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was sitting at the table with his ministers. This was one of the table talks he was listening to. And he said, he asked the ministers at the table, you know, about the design of his fez. You know, and people, you know, we become super scientists at that point. You know, and the messenger is like, the sister that designed the fez was not a scientist. Like, you know, like, come on with your answer, right? So, but to say that he reached into the heavens and pulled the stars down and placed them on his crown? Imam Sultan was counseling me and showing me that all of us are stars on that fez. We all have a place to sit on the crown of Christ. But are you going to claim your position? You're not trying to be the star next to you, the star in front of you, the star behind you. Claim and be comfortable with your position. I grew into that, thank Allah. I'm not competing with somebody else's light or some. I'm comfortable in the light that Allah has placed inside of me. My light don't shine like nobody else's light. Your light don't shine like my light. We all have a uniqueness to how our internal light is going to shine. But we dim our lights with arrogance, with now that you competitiveness, I got to compete with you, with doubt, with envy, with jealousy. Now you put your light out. No. Recognize that all of us have a light, a part of the light. We're all illuminated. All of us, we shine, and we shine brighter together. Not so we got to link arms. You know what I'm saying? We got to come together and realize I'm my sister's keeper. Without her, I do not exist. We are a team. This is who we are. Stop competing. Stop wanting to put one down thinking that's going to rise you up. That's a artificial rising. That's not true growth. No. Let Allah rise you as you rise him. Raise the God. He'll raise you. My thing is I don't even need to be rich. Just keep me risen above the soil. I'm good enough. Just keep me above the soil. And but outside of that, I'm going to keep on raising the God. Because it's not about me. At the end of the day, it's about him. He came by himself. Absolutely. Hey, that speaks volumes in itself, right? So, you know, Sister Bernsteen is a woman that has a beautiful story that needs to be told, but it needs to be told with the right spirit. It needs to be told with the heart of gold, with love that represents the love that she had for the God when she served him, and not even knowing that he was God. That's the love we must embody. That's the mindset we must embody. That's obedience. That's faith. That gives us the will. It gives us that force, that drive to overcome difficulty, because she overcame a lot of difficulty. Can you imagine what it felt like being the only female amongst the first 9 laborers? I cannot. We already know what it's like being in a room with brothers, and it's just you looking for the sisters. Where my sisters at? You somebody to have my back, because the testosterone get to going, and you know, I don't know what it was like, but what I do know is it's uncomfortable for any woman, and I don't believe it was any different for her. So in that, I believe that she also represents how to persevere. How do I get through this difficulty? How do I deal with those who may not know yet how to handle me, how to treat me? How can I say that? Because men today are still learning how to handle us, how to treat us. They're still being taught, and it does not make you less than a man because you're still being taught. No. If you humble yourself, even me as a woman, if I humble myself to that which Allah desires from both, the only thing I can do is grow into excellence. I can't grow into anything else because it'll be what he desires. We're God's. Walk in your destiny, walk in your purpose without apologizing. The minister said, when we speak of Allah's word, when we speak of the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, be convicted when you speak of that. Don't speak weak. Our God is not weak.
Absolutely not.
So we
No,
don't
ma'am.
speak weak. No, we speak strong, even as a woman, but not intimidating. Don't intimidate people.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, 'cause some of us can do that. I mean, you know.
I mean, the word enough is,
Yes.
he has his own energy and spirit.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Praise be to Allah.
Man. Woo. You are teaching to not just me. I'm sure you teach to everybody on this line. Oh my goodness.
Praise be to Allah.
You have touched on so much. And you even answered some of the questions that I was going to follow up. But like, look at that. Like, Allah is easy. And I really what stuck out to me, among the many things that stuck out, was you saying that Mother Burnsteen, like, ultimately she had to die to let Allah in. And because she let Allah in and she died, like not her physical body.
Right.
She was able to become the reformer, to reform and serve women.
Yes.
Not just one body of women, but like the world.
Yes.
That is.
Yes.
That's heavy. And it goes to show why we all must find what we were put on this earth to do. And we must be found doing that.
Yes.
Because Allah has a purpose for each and every last one of us.
Mm-hmm.
And we are the vessels. And for me, for the last few years, I have been working on allowing myself to be a purer vessel. Because I would get in Allah's way by having doubt, anxiety, not thinking that I knew what I was talking about. Me not thinking that I looked right while I was talking. Just a lot of unnecessary stuff that have been in there,
Absolutely.
Coming up in this world, coming up with parents, living and going to school and stuff. But it's the more you let go of you, the more he can be right in you. And you are just, again, really a vessel. And it's just, from the little that I've been blessed to do, it's incredible what Allah is able to do through you when you just let him use you.
Yes.
And that story just...
Let him use you. He's the author.
Mm-hmm.
Let him use you. That way, when we stumble and fall, it doesn't hurt to the point where you cannot get back up. Mm-hmm. When we allow Allah to go first, he is the protector. So let him clear the path. Mm-hmm. If we're taught that I can't even carry my own burdens, I got to give my load to the God, then an understanding that you have to give your baggage to God, then that's an example, one, for you not to carry somebody else's baggage, because you ain't even supposed to carry your own. And then it's like, and it also shows us the love that Allah has for us, that you love me enough, that you promised me that you wouldn't put on me more than I can bear. So when you feel like you're weighed down, you're overwhelmed, I cannot bear this, what did you put on yourself, or what did you allow somebody else outside of the God to put on you? Because that's not God's promise to you, and he don't break his word. So understand the process. Learn the God so you can identify him in life. Because this enemy is wicked, and he comes in many ways. But Allah is not going to confuse. He don't do chaos and confusion. He's not the author of that. His word is clear. So you got to learn to hear his voice. You got to learn to identify him. Eliminate the bullies in your life. That's pushing you in the wrong direction when God is reaching out for you saying, come to me. I will kill your enemies. I will protect you. Why are you trying to do it yourself? You didn't create that enemy. You have no idea what that enemy might do to you. You might have a little clues, indications. But when you're talking about the ultimate level of what this enemy can do, you can't fathom that. So why not equip yourself with the one who has already written how this whole thing is going to turn out? Why are we all of a sudden becoming suicidal? We all of a sudden living outside of our nature. We all of a sudden, you find us in a corner. We having nervous breakdowns. We're breeding all type of diseases. That's not God's way. There's a gap there that must be closed because you allow the enemy to feel himself in the gap. No, that space needs to be closed. It needs to be sealed where you're right in the bosom of Allah. So close you can hear his heartbeat, because it should be in sync with yours. If it's not, somebody is messing with the rhythm that produces and maintains your life. We don't want that. That's not what Allah wants for us. So we need to become equipped with that which Allah desires for us. And in order to do that, we got to take on his mind and set this enemy's mind to the side. Take on his mind, and don't worry about the naysayers. Don't worry about those that will come and say, oh, you believe like this? Well, that's blasphemy. God could never come in the image of a man. Then who are you in the image and likeness of? But what do you think he is? And if you, well, he's a spirit. Well, a spirit has to be housed by flesh. Even if you don't believe in God, go study science. Atoms and molecules have to be housed by a substance in order to have a purpose. Come on. Don't tell me the way I believe is wrong. Because in truth, I don't give a damn about your opinion. I didn't ask for it. Keep it to yourself. Because it's like at that point, I have to let you know. I'm too strong for you to shift me. I live the life of shifting myself. I'm not willing to go back to that. It's not my purpose. My purpose in life is to be with my Creator. My purpose in life is to believe as I believe. I'm not trying to bully you into how we believe. That's how you got to talk to people, because in truth, they try to come with this, that. You have the other sectors of Islam. And who made you better? Come on now. You want me to join on to a sector of Islam that makes you up here and me down here because you taught that Allah created you 1 degree higher than me? 1 out of 360 degrees. Please show me where that 1 is. I mean, in reality, or does that 1 possibly give you a higher responsibility of taking care of me. Because in the Holy Quran, the woman has rights too.
Mm-hmm.
So don't talk to me as if I have no rights. No. Get away from me with that. Allah came for me. Make it real personal. As you build your relationship with the God, he came for me. Even when you talk to a Christian, they make it personal. Jesus died for my sins.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my God came by himself to deliver me from this world of sin. Come on. Let's walk this path together, because we both agree in deliverance from sin.
Mm-hmm.
Walk this path together. It's not an argument. It's not a debate. We're not enemies. We have a common enemy.
Mm-hmm.
We got to come together to fight that common enemy. Those were things that even Sister Bernsteen represented. But the reason why I'm falling deeper and deeper in her story is because I understand and I'm beginning to connect with pain that she can. I don't care what nobody says. You're not going to tell me that a woman was on this planet and she didn't go through pain. But look at it like this. Look at Mary Magdalene, the woman who was stereotyped. She was called a prostitute. Now you want to say she was promiscuous. She was this, she was that. But she was the one who recognized Jesus, his divinity. She was the one who took the expensive oil that others were upset that you would waste such oils on his feet. She was the one who witnessed his resurrection, the first one, and at that moment became the messenger of his word. She became his mouthpiece. She had to deliver the word that he truly was alive. But you mislabeled her. Well, through that mislabeling, you don't think she felt pain? Through that process of having to deliver that he was alive, and I'm sure some people was like, this woman has lost her mind. You don't think she felt pain from that? And be honest, being a woman connected to the nature of being a woman, don't you connect very well with pain? When you find out another woman has gone through a similar pain you've gone through, girl, let's talk. How did you get there? But just give me some tips, because you look good and I'm trying to get there. That's how we talk.
That's true.
You don't think the God is a woman who can help us relate through her pain with how Allah heals you? Come on. I would be a fool not to believe that. Come on. And I mean, yeah, it may bring a little bit of embarrassment or shame, but you're not the author of her life. So absolutely it may come, but so what? Because if it serves the purpose that Allah desires, I don't give a damn about your embarrassment. My job is to be pleasing to the God. And that's it. And that's how we have to become. Be pleasing to Allah. If somebody tells me you're not pleased with what I'm doing, but Allah shows that he is, I'm going with the God. Right? Oh, well, this is the direction that I'm going. That's how convicted we have to be, because Allah loves us like that. He loves his woman that he created. The second self, after he created himself, he created me, the woman. Water seeks its own level. So you created a being that had the essence to equal herself to you. It's in my nature to equal myself up to God. It's in the man's nature to compete with him. We are just being in our nature. We are girls in his bosom. Let him heal you. Let him wrap his love around you. And it's okay to cry, to scream, he hears you. I remember the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan saying, if I can't hear you, you're not screaming loud enough. So who told you you can't yell? In your time of pain, that provides a release for you. And please, I'm walking with the God. This is what we doing. We as women in the nation of Islam are walking with Allah, the living God, with the living Christ, with the embodiment of God's mercy. Come on. That's who we serve. That's who we walk with. That's who we reflect. And that's why we can never be oppressed. Never. Praise be to Allah. Girl, you had some good questions.
All praises due to Allah. I just sat one morning, I was like, I want to ask this, and I want to ask this. And I just know how these conversations usually go, Start with one question, and you end up answering all the questions.
This is
this is all praise due to Allah. We're definitely going to have to do a part 2.
Yes.
Obviously.
Absolutely. We got to bring, so on here, how many people can you bring in at one time? Like how?
4.
Because we got to bring Kenya in. We got
Yes. I would love that. And I think she would love that too, honestly. Yes. Kenya, I don't know if you're still here.
Kenya would love that. She would.
Kenya, if you have anyone else who would love to come and, add some information to the conversation.
Absolutely.
I don't care. I just love it. I could be the host.
We have fun. We have fun with it.
Yes.
Is about, and we're in the month of Ramadan.
Yes, this makes it even better.
Time for us to rejoice, to be happy, to love on each other. It's like, come on, and then I guess after the live, you can go back and view the questions that people have. We can answer the questions that people have as well. So I just, man, I see Kenya.
She said you're sufficient.
No,
She's just gonna come and bear with this.
Come join. You're gonna come join, Kenya. We got the more the merrier.
In due time. She'll come on.
Yes. Oh my God. Because I love us. I love our energy. I love to see you all and how you embrace your Islam and you're not ashamed to show it. And because this is the devil's world. You know what I'm saying? And even I thank Allah so much to have daughters who want to cover. Because this world's pull is real. Yes. And our national MTT captain, I'm like, ma'am, thank you for coming out with Demonics. Because this is a choice for the girls to cover themselves. This enemy ain't coming out with clothes to cover you. And we're blessed with a national MGT captain that loves us and want to help in the process of covering us. I love it. I absolutely, I love it. I love our nation. I love our teachings, I love all the
the more
great.
The more I learn, the more I'm in this, specifically the Vanguard retreat, that really did something to me.
Oh yes.
Like the more I am in this, the more I'm learning, the more I'm falling in love with myself and Allah, the more I want to share this with other women. Like every single woman on this planet deserves to feel how we get to feel being in the nation, being amongst the sisterhood, and being in classes. So I feel like Allah made one of my personal missions to try to bring these teachings to as many women and girls as possible, because we all deserve to know who we really are.
Come on.
Because when you know yourself, you stop. It's a lot you cut off. There wouldn't be
Yes.
There wouldn't be a lot of what's going on right now. And it's just there's so much to do, and there's so much we can't do. And that's why I thank Allah for you even agreeing to have this conversation. And
praise be to Allah. I think
looking forward to the future.
Oh, you know, another person to add on actually would be my cousin Samaya. Samaya is her father and my father were brothers. Mm-hmm. And Samaya's mother is Aunt Donna, the daughter of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Oh. So Samaya and the Farrakhan. So I think that she will be a great person as well. She has her experiences, you know, she has beautiful things to share. Her wisdom, things that she has witnessed, things that she does, she has seen. And, you know, I was talking to her the other day, and I thank Allah so much when we can talk to each other and you know that you grew up in this, and you can see the wisdom that Allah blesses you with. Because she was counseling me and I'm listening. I'm like, yes, ma'am. And I promise you, we're like 4 months apart. And I'm on the phone like, yes, ma'am. Like, yes, ma'am. You know, and it's so beautiful how we can feed off of each other. And it just shows age means nothing. It means my child can teach me something, many things. So, you know, we don't want to get into, well, I'm older. No. I love so much to be able to see the growth of the sisters in the Nation of Islam. I really love it. So Samaya will be a good one too. And she probably gonna be like, so you threw me in there too? Yep, I threw you in. I done threw Kenya in. Absolutely. We about to have a party, okay?
Yay! Well, we could definitely put that together. We could definitely plan that. But I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
Yes, ma'am.
I know it is Ramadan.
All right.
I still have to finish reading my chapter, my part for the day, and probably finish dinner. But yeah, again, I thank you so much. And I thank everyone who has been sticking around.
Yes.
Even if you stopped in for a few minutes, we really appreciate
very grateful. Yes, ma'am. And praise be to Allah.
I pray that you all were able to get something from this. I know there will probably be more people to watch the replay, because that's always how it goes. But again, I just thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. Absolutely. During Ramadan, when everybody just want to drink and eat and just want to go to sleep, and tired.
It is absolutely fine. And you can create clips. You can do whatever you want, girl. Okay? Go for it.
Of course. Most definitely. I'm going to be doing a lot of this.
Praise be to Allah.
All praise to Allah. Well, thank you all so much again for your participation. May Allah continue to bless you. Ramadan Mubarak.
And
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.